And we're live.
Dude, have you guys seen the Matt Gaetz news? It's hilarious.
I've heard of it, but I didn't look into it.
So Matt Gaetz is an American politician. He's a member of the U.S.
the
House.
mafia thing?
No.
Yeah.
He's a member of the U.S. House of Representatives from Florida. And he's been accused. He's like under investigation. Or I guess he's not the subject. He's something else. He's not indicted yet. Anyway, sex trafficking. And it's not as bad as it sounds. Apparently, he was fucking this 17-year-old in Florida and paid for her flight to go somewhere. I have Georgia in my head, but I'm really not sure about that. And Kyle, did you want to jump in?
Is that the Mann Act? I think that the law against that was a segregation era law that was meant to target interracial couples.
I don't know.
I would love it if the Dems are using that against this guy.
So yeah, he's Republican, but it's not really about party. Anyway, so he went on Tucker Carlson's show, and Tucker opens up with this. You know what? I don't know anything about this case. Well, we got Matt Gaetz on here himself to talk about it. We're going to see what he says, which I interpret as I'm going to interview this guy uncritically and just accept whatever he says as truth because he doesn't know anything about it. Like, all right, cool. So the guy comes on and his defense is fucking hilarious, right? It was never, I'm not fucking 17-year-old girls. It was always, I'm not traveling with them. This idea that I was generous towards my ex-girlfriend, first of all, what's wrong with that? Second, check my travel logs. I did not travel with a 17-year-old girl. They're accusing me of traveling with this girl, and I absolutely didn't travel with her anyway. So there's that. And I'm like, but you fucked her, didn't you? You're not denying that part of it. It's the travel part. But that is what the human trafficking part is that he's really.
Wait, so they're not going after him for fucking her? They're going.
I'm not sure that's illegal, right?
Wait,
so,
yeah, because we think it's 18, but then we looked it up. Huge numbers of states have 17 as their law, and then there's even some 16.
Yeah,
I thought 16 was the common one. So here's a common case. Of course, check your own states. At 14, you can consent to people within 4 years of you. So if you're 14 and the other dude's 18, check the birthdays, right? And if you're 16, then you can consent to Matt Gaetz if you want to. Now, I don't know Florida, but that's like a common one. Yeah. So I know that's North Carolina and that's New Jersey.
Here. Yeah.
It's 17 where you are? Okay. So apparently, I'm guessing it's okay to fuck 17-year-old girls. Maybe not politically, but legally. But it's not okay to buy him a plane ticket. And that's where he fouled up. And we'll see how it plays out. But
the reason why I said
Woody, you're right. There's way more 16 in this list than I thought. If anything, there's more 16s than 18s in this list.
Huh. The reason why I said the mafia thing was because I heard this yesterday or whenever, I think it was yesterday. It came out, and apparently like 7 hours before he retired from whatever it was that he was currently doing. And took a new job somewhere else, way less in the public eye, supposedly, some show. And he had said that the allegations against him were false and that he was being extorted. So the extortion thing made me think like just mafia, just because it's extortion. But like, I thought that was funny that when it came out, he said that he was being extorted, but like 7 hours before it came out, he like retired from his position. And I always just thought that sometimes like the old.
He retired?
He was doing something. Yeah, he had switched jobs. He had this is all something that I read on Reddit last night, stoned. So please excuse the way I'm like translating it, but you could pull it up. He had retired as a politician to start to be on a show. He had like basically relinquished power. Is that not accurate? That he had relinquished power from his position right before this broke, and then it broke, and then he said he was being extorted, and he went off this tangent saying that his dad is working with the authorities and his dad was wearing a wire. And I thought that was weird because why would you say you're wearing a wire and you're working with the authorities if it's supposed to be like a low-key thing?
So 2 days ago, an article came out saying he was considering not seeking re-election. and instead getting a job at Newsmax, which is like to the right of Fox News.
Yeah, that's
But he has
that's
not,
what I that's
he
what
has
I
not
that was-
retired, and if he wants to get re-election, he lives in a state where the Republican, not a state, a district where the Republican like automatically wins. So assuming he wins his own primary, he keeps his job.
Yeah, and that's politician talk.
Mhm.
He's definitely going to run again. Definitely.
Oh, I
would
don't
imagine.
know. I don't know. I think that I could see him leaving and getting a job at Newsmax. I think it might earn more money. It obviously earns more money.
You think so?
And then
Yeah.
House of Rep, yeah. And it earns more money, and I think it's a better fit for him. Like, he's never introduced any new laws. He doesn't seem that interested in governing. He's the guy that wore the gas.
You don't think that
mask
he
on the
wanted
floor.
that? You think he wanted to do that separate? You think he wanted? You think they weren't related? I assume that was like a tactic, like just you can do much better for yourself, I guess. Not like being a politician. If you're in the middle of doing this type of thing, the scrutiny when you're a politician is so much more intense, I would assume, than if you're just on some show.
Like a news anchor. Yeah.
But like you said, there's many reasons why it could be the right move. But I thought that always comes off as kind of guilty. And nowadays with like cancel culture, I'm always mystified about how things are handled when people do shit or whatever. And I in the old days, it was kind of like, don't say anything until newspapers get tired of printing. But now you don't say something and the conversation gets crazier and crazier and people go farther back on your Twitter and you're not saying anything to defend it and things get crazy. And then people start imagining stuff and looking at other things and inferring shit. Like, like I think of like a Chris D'Elia never said anything when it went to hell, when it went to shit for him, like, all the allegations that came out. And I remember like nothing, he didn't say anything for a while. David Dobrik didn't say anything when things got bad or when people started pointing out stuff. In one case for Chris, it was like a year later, he came back and made like a video. And in David Dobrik's case, like shit just got too hot to not mention something. But it seems like people try and do the older tactics. And I feel like we're at a place with like an unprecedented strategic approach with the internet and Twitter and how fast things moves. Like, what do you do if you're, in a scenario where you might be canceled for something, or, even if it's something actually bad and you should be, or if it's something where us here would be like, that's not a big deal, they should shut up about that. Whatever it is, like, it's interesting to me whenever that happens. It's probably my guilty pleasure is watching like these drama things, because I'm just like, oh, how will this person handle this type of scenario? So I only knew about this. I don't know anything about this guy at all. Never heard of him, but I knew about this because I was like, oh, it was like one of those scenarios, someone approaching a strategy of what to do. And so I always try and read into that stuff.
So the leaving his job thing is
it's kind of
just a rumor.
fascinating.
So I don't know if that's ever going to turn into anything. I could believe a world where House of Representative was always a stepping stone to a media job. That seems kind of Matt Gaetz. I've followed Matt Gaetz for years. And so I could see that. I could see him being happier and wealthier and better at the Newsmax job than he is as a House of Rep. But apparently fucking this teenager.
Right.
Is Newsmax big?
But that's a federal thing, right? If it's traveled, it's like a federal crime. Sorry.
I didn't know if
Go ahead.
Newsmax is big enough to be like giving out big contracts and stuff. Are they on TV? They're on.
They're a cable channel.
Oh, okay. I don't have cable.
They're growing like crazy. They are taking Fox News' market share. Now, my dad is like a month and a half old, but Fox has been plummeting, doing worse than CNN, worse than MSNBC, they've been doing the worst. And it's because while they previously had the entire conservative audience, now it's being shared with One American News and Newsmax.
Yeah, what we've seen, like every single traditional news station by percentage has become less and less popular. Like CNN and Fox and MSNBC are the kind of weather vanes of that. You can see, like 5 years ago, they were all way bigger titans within this industry. And like net, like number wise, it might not be the dramatic thing you're thinking, but the fact that they've stagnated a bit. And for a while there, for a couple of years, MSNBC and CNN almost switched places, because CNN used to be like the rock and roll and fucking uber successful one prior to like 2016, and then 17, 18, MSNBC. I just know because I work in advertising, so I see the numbers and the rates they charge. Except the problem with MSNBC's was that like you'd see all their ratings like, and then Rachel Maddow just blows it out of the water. She had just incredible ratings.
This is
like
like
her-
4 years ago or now?
This was like 3 years ago. That Rachel Maddow was really, really booming. I don't know what her ratings are like right now. I haven't checked. Probably not as good because, like you said, different companies are cropping up, and then a lot of people are moving away from the traditional medium entirely and turning to online for their news.
So it looks like Fox is doing better than I thought. I don't know where I read what I read.
Not
They
5%, though.
They
Not
did
5%.
do the biggest drop off. They lost 40%, while the other guys, like MSNBC, lost 19%.
Yeah,
But
they've
they're
always
still the biggest, even though they lost 40%. They're still bigger than MSNBC. Anyway, I don't know if this is what people want to hear about, but yes, Newsmax is growing and growing. It's like
okay. Well, then that's probably the smart move, money wise. Go there and start getting like a Hannity style. Well, probably not a Hannity. I don't know what Hannity makes, but probably enormous.
Hannity's top of the food chain. But yeah, like I feel like it's a smart move too. Not only is it probably better money wise, but also like the job that he's good at, more fun, a little less scrutiny, a little more FU, a little less like please like me. I don't know. Like I feel like a media job is better than a politician job for mental health and happiness. And
yeah, I'd rather be in the media.
I think you can do both. I think one
really
transitions to the other so fluidly.
Transitions, but not at the same time.
You're not allowed to do them at the same time. You wouldn't want the sort of incestuous relationship where like you're the governor of like, I don't know, a state or maybe the mayor of a city, and then your brother is a newscaster. That wouldn't work, There's no way that you could.
Who would get an Emmy in that situation?
That would be tremendously unethical. I mean, imagine if they put him on TV and tried to use that as popcorn while there was a huge, controversy.
Well, if that was the case, though, you would just report on your brother accurately, and of course, you'd never have him on your show or anything like that, because again, ethics.
Yes. Yeah. They're
journalistic integrity.
Yeah. Being on the news is way, way better than being a politician. He should do it.
Yeah. Plus, he might not get reelected. Well, I know it's Florida. They probably like.
Do you guys watch any? Like conservative YouTube channels?
I watch Fox.
No.
I go on my YouTube and I get like a lot of that. Like that's what I get a lot of.
Or do you just
not that much? Sometimes I'll click on something like something interesting will be said and I'll click on it. But
that's
like
why
YouTube just
like what are the political channels?
I know, but I don't
really
take it in like as much. Sometimes I wonder if I'm like my YouTube is logged on an iPad or something and someone else, because like it's a lot. But like I'll get like a lot of like I know you're right actually.
I wonder there's something here about Star Wars. Is there a new one coming out? And then they're like, oh, this guy loves Star Wars. I bet he dresses up as Boba Fett every Saturday and goes to fucking.
They're right though, but they're right about
him with
that.
information.
I wasn't right.
Dude, that's what happens to me with Fox News. Like I'm like, all right, Woody, maybe you're an echo chamber. Let's listen to some Fox and hear both sides of the story. And YouTube is like, this guy fucking loves Tucker Carlson. Let's feed him some more. I'm like, all right, well, that's captivating. And I watched that one and that one and that one. And now I'm watching Hannity and Laura Ingraham. And